On to our next article, perhaps the most explosive and politically emotionally charged of them all. Derek Chauvin, charged with George Floyd's death, may face an additional murder charge. One more time before we get into this article, raise your cup, your glass in the air. Cheers with me. It tastes better when we sip together the same time sip. Delicious. Let's jump into this story now. An appeals court has ordered a Minnesota judge to consider charging former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin with third-degree murder in the death of George Floyd last May. Hennepin County District Judge Peter Cahill had dismissed that charge in October, siding with Chauvin's defense team, who argued the officer didn't put anyone other than the victim at risk. But a three-judge panel of the Minnesota Court of Appeals said Cahill failed to follow precedent. Last month, the Court of Appeals, by a vote of 2-1, upheld third-degree murder charges against former officer Mohammed Noor, who shot and killed a woman while on duty in 2017. Noor also had argued his actions were directed at the victim alone. We reverse the order of the district court and remand for reconsideration of the state's motion, the appeals court ruled. On remand, the district court has discretion to consider any additional arguments Chauvin might raise in opposition to the state's motion, but the district court's decision must be consistent with this opinion. Chauvin is one of four officers facing charges following the death of Floyd, which gained national attention last spring when cell phone footage showed Chauvin kneeling on Floyd's neck for just shy of 9 minutes. Chauvin currently faces second-degree murder and second-degree manslaughter charges, but Cahill will have to consider reinstating the additional murder charge. Chauvin's trial is scheduled to start next week, and it is unclear whether they could delay it. Chauvin was first charged with third-degree murder and second-degree manslaughter on May 29, 2020, but Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison filed an additional higher charge of second-degree murder the following week. Ellison alleged Chauvin used an unauthorized restraint technique and intentionally inflicted bodily harm on Floyd, who was handcuffed and laid face down on the pavement. According to Minnesota law, second-degree murder carries a prison sentence of no more than 40 years and third-degree murder 25 years. We believe the Court of Appeals decided this matter correctly. We believe the charge of third-degree murder, in addition to manslaughter and felony murder, reflects the gravity of the allegations against Mr. Chauvin, Ellison said in a statement Friday. Adding this charge is an important step forward in the path toward justice. We look forward to presenting all charges to the jury in Hennepin County. Now, let's take a quick look at these laws here, okay? 2020 Minnesota statutes, murder in the second degree. Now, it's interesting. If you read at the top, intentional murder, it covers drive-by shooting specifically. That's interesting. Whoever does either of the following is guilty of murder in the second degree and may be sentenced to imprisonment for not more than 40 years. Number one, causes the death of a human being with intent to affect the death of that person or another, but without premeditation. Or, and then the next part talks about the drive-by shooting type killings. Okay. Now, there's also a felony murder rule here where if the person is committing a felony and somebody dies, that's also a second degree unintentional murder. Causes the death of a human being without intent to affect the death of any person while committing or attempting to commit a felony offense other than criminal sexual conduct in the first or second degree with force or violence or a drive-by shooting. So that's the felony murder rule. There is also a murder rule here with intent. All right, now let's look at second-degree murder, and then I'll break all these down for you. Third-degree murder. Murder in the third degree. Whoever without intent to affect the death of any persons causes the death of another by perpetrating an act eminently dangerous to others and evincing a depraved mind without regard for human life is guilty of murder in the third degree and may be sentenced to imprisonment for not more than 25 years. Okay, here's the interesting thing here and how these three murder rules generally work in my quick interpretation of the murder law in Minnesota. First degree requires premeditation. So why wasn't Chauvin charged with first degree? Well, first degree is basically like you're sitting at your house and you say, look, I'm going to go over to this person's house and I'm going to kill them. Or you have a plan, right? You laid out a long plan and you set things in motions for days or weeks. And then you go and then you carry out the act and kill the person. That is first degree murder. Okay, second degree is you kill someone here in it's different in every state, but here in Minnesota, it appears to be you kill someone with the intent to kill, but there was no premeditation. So you intended to kill the person, but it happened right on the spot, okay? Let's say you got into a fight, bing, bang, boom, punches. All right, the person turns around, you grab a knife, you go after him, you kill him. It was sort of heat of the moment. That would fall into the second degree murder. Or if you killed someone in the course of also committing a felony, there's also that drive-by shooting rule. Third degree murder, no intent to kill, but you acted with a reckless disregard for human life. No intent to actually kill, but reckless disregard for human life. Now, it sounds to me that in a large way, the third degree murder may be more appropriate than the second degree murder. Now, I don't know that exact law in Minnesota that they're citing here where they're saying, well, if there was only one person involved and it only happened to the victim, then he can only be charged with second degree murder. That's some deep case law. But generally, and I think the way things are going to work out here, so this is what you need to know, is if the third degree murder charge comes back, what the jury is going to have to look at is they're going to say, well, if this was just an accident, he should be guilty of third degree murder. If he killed him, but he didn't premeditate it, but he meant to kill him, it would be the second degree murder. Now, here's the fascinating thing. This, in a way, this might help Chauvin or it might help the prosecution. It may hurt Chauvin, may hurt the prosecution. Why do I say that? Well, if you have a jury that, let's say, is considering the second degree murder, but they say, well, you know what, he definitely did something wrong here, but we don't think it rises to second degree murder. We're going to go ahead and give him the third degree murder. Boom, he gets that 25 years instead of the 40, perhaps even less than the 25. But let's say the jury was, and it could help the prosecution in the way that, let's say the jury was thinking, well, there's just no way that it's second degree. There's just no way that it's second degree. So they still have the option of choosing the third degree. They still have the option of choosing the third degree. And so it could save the prosecution and still give them a conviction if they don't meet the burden when it comes to second degree. But it could also help Chauvin if the jury was seriously considering the second degree, but decided to jump to one charge lower, right? Absent the third degree charge, the jury would only see the second degree. So it would really just be guilt or innocence here. Hit him with the second degree or set him free. It's a bigger gamble in both respects. However, for Chauvin, if the jury really feels that they had to convict him of something, their only choice would be the second degree, right? Whereas if the jury didn't think they could meet the burden of second degree, they would have to set him free and the prosecution would not get a conviction at all here. So it probably helps the prosecution out a little bit more than it would the defense if they have the third degree charge there. It makes a conviction more likely. And sorry, I thought that through right here. I would say ultimately it helps the prosecution and makes a conviction more likely. Very interesting will be after this trial to see what the jury thought about second degree, thought about the third degree, and what they said, and the analysis they go through in deciding which one to choose, or in deciding to find him not guilty overall. So this is a big development in the case. It makes it more likely that Chauvin will be convicted of something because the jury now has more options. Plus, the third degree is easier to prove. They can say in a way that it was an accident, but the guy ended up dead, so Chauvin is responsible for it. Whereas with the second degree, they would really have to say that Chauvin wanted to kill this man. And if Chauvin testifies, he may rebut that with his own actual words. So I'm going to continue to follow all of these stories. Thank you for tuning in to Joe the Lawyer. I'm a local criminal defense attorney in Pittsburgh, PA. I'm giving you the news through a legal mind. If you like my content, please like, subscribe, comment, and share. Trying to get to 1,000 subscriptions. I love all you guys. Peace out. Have a great week.